I can't keep myself straight up. Hi guys, welcome back. Today I'm with Sally for a Q&A. If you know Sally, you'll know that she has a background in terms of hair care. So she is a hairdresser. I believe you're qualified, is that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she's really good at what she does. So I will give a link down below in terms of her channel. So please give that a look. But we're going to be talking through different hair care questions today and skincare as well. Okay, so first question. What are your personal skincare routines? Do you want to go through yours first?
Yes, so I don't really have anything in particular as I'm quite basic when I use my skincare products. I always find people tend to tell you that you need to use all of these different products and constantly need to double cleanse all the time and use all these different creams, and if you complicate it too much, it tends to cause you to have more problems with your skin. So so when it comes to makeup, I will just stick with baby wipes, for example, just because if I cleanse too much, my skin really does dry out. And that happens for quite a lot of girls that I know of anyway. You can also use oils, which I've used before, or like balms. I know Clinique do one, just to remove all of the residue of makeup at the end of the day, just so you don't sleep with any and it clogs your pores or anything. I'll use 2 different moisturisers, so if I'm applying makeup, I'll use a little bit of a lighter one just so my makeup doesn't slip around.
Yeah.
And at night time, obviously, quite a lot of people will have thicker ones, just so while you're sleeping, your skin can regenerate and all that sort of stuff. Naturally, I have quite oily skin on my T-zone, so I will need to use extra products just to make sure that my makeup doesn't slip around, and because of my job, because I'm getting hot and sweaty all the time doing other people's hair, that I want it to look exactly the same as when I've applied it, so I don't have to keep faffing about with it during the day.
Yeah, 100%. I think in terms of my routine, I'm very much the same as Sally, 100% agree. So I think a lot of people overcomplicate skincare now. I think for a lot of businesses, it's very much in their interest to oversell products and just sell too many to people. So they say, oh, suddenly you need this new product, you need that product, or you need to be doing this, you need to double cleanse, like you say, you need to add this oil, you need to keep putting more acids on. But ultimately, you need to just keep it simple. Acne sometimes tends to come down to doing too much on your skin and you need to bring it back, as opposed to, I need to add something else in. So all I do is I shower twice a day, which is quite unconventional again, but it keeps me from having any body acne. It keeps my skin well balanced, but I don't use a cleanser, which is really important. I think if you are someone who wears makeup, you may need to use a cleanser. If you can avoid it, it'll be better, but it keeps pretty much the oiliness of my skin in check, so it's really beneficial for that. And it just stops my skin getting irritated. I think showering twice a day or washing your face twice a day without a cleanser should be enough. You really shouldn't need to do more than that. The only time I do use it is if I'm actually shaving, so I do need a foam when I'm shaving. So as I said in the previous video, I usually use like a Cetaphil foam and cleanser, and that just provides a really good barrier for me shaving, because unfortunately you won't get away with just water, you will get a rash. Once I've got out of the shower, I will treat my skin. Just something that contains like tea tree oil or witch hazel, something like that, just so it kind of fights the acne that I could potentially get, and it just dries my skin out a little bit because I'm not cleansing or doing any of those activities. Following that, I will moisturise with a non-comedogenic moisturiser so I don't clog in my pores. But in terms of acne, you do need to moisturise. I know it seems a bit strange, but it's really good for people with that skin type because it will stop your own skin producing too much oil. Then I use eye drops. I'd recommend those as well. Just keeps your eyes really non-itchy. And I use Burt's Bees lip balm as well, so you don't get any chapped lips, because no one likes that. Helps with the girls as well. Alright, next question we've got is, how do I not be so oily? I've tried everything. My skin is so oily, I look like a disco ball, or you could fry an egg on me. Lol. So I like that one. So I imagine most of you don't want to be a frying pan. So the first thing, as I've just previously said, is stop using a cleanser if you can, particularly in the morning. I think cleansers tend to dry out the skin, and I think when you get out of the shower, it feels a lot drier and it feels a lot better. But ultimately what happens is your skin then thinks that it's dry, so it will overproduce oil throughout the day. So by the end of the day, you'll have really greasy skin. As soon as I cut out a cleanser, my skin was a lot less oily.
Always have to trick yourself.
It's almost tricking the skin into thinking that you don't need to produce as much oil. Second one is, if you can get some tapioca starch, you can find it on Amazon or wherever, just sprinkle a little bit in your moisturiser. Might seem a little bit strange at first. Essentially, I'm just trying to replicate what the Apneat products are, because unfortunately they're not available at the minute. But if you put a little bit of that starch in your moisturiser, what it will do is that starch will sit on the top of your skin, and over the course of the day it will absorb any excess oil that you produce.
Oh, that's me.
Third one is only use warm water in the shower and not hot. I think a lot of the women in our family use really hot showers.
Yeah. I think that's a woman thing.
Yeah, 100%. So don't use really hot water. It might feel, again, much better when you get out of the shower because you have completely rinsed off everything on your skin. But again, you're going to have oily skin by the end of the day. And don't shower for more than 5 minutes if you can avoid it, because you are, again, unnecessarily drying out your skin. You might not be directly in the water the whole time, but the steam will dry out your skin. So avoid baths if you can as well. If you want to do it once a week, say, it's probably not going to be the worst, but try to not do it too often. The next one is dab your skin following moisturising. So put your moisturiser on, put your starch in, and just dab any excess with tissue. That will just remove any excess moisturiser and take away that shine. Do not rub too hard with a towel. I forgot about that one. If you dry your face, dab with a towel. Yeah, that's really, really important point. Food-wise or diet-wise, cut out your caffeine. Firstly, just releases stress hormones, which will make your skin oilier. You'll notice a big difference if you cut out caffeine. High saturated foods, don't eat too many of those. Try to limit that. Don't eat spicy foods, will make your skin more oily. And the last thing is add about 3 drops of jojoba oil or jojoba oil to your moisturiser. You can get it again on eBay or Amazon. You need unrefined jojoba oil. What that does is it has the same chemical structure as our own skin oil, so it will replicate our skin oil and trick the skin into thinking it doesn't need to produce too much oil. So by the kind of midday time, you'll have less oily skin than you would have otherwise. Okay, next one is tips on taking makeup off to avoid spots. And the second question within that is tips on wearing masks, what kind to use, what to do with your skin before and after, as masks give me chin spots. So I presume she's talking about your COVID masks. So we'll cover the makeup one first. Do you want to talk in terms of your routine of taking makeup off?
Yeah, so obviously, like I mentioned before, the wipes and the balms are quite good products. I think people tend to forget as well is tying their hair up when they take makeup off, because there's so many bits you can miss around your hairline, and quite a lot of people get them on their jaw, on their forehead, where obviously fringes are sat, just to make sure that you don't miss any. I personally like wipes the best. They're not for everyone. Some people do prefer to use oil-based products, or micellar water is quite popular. I do think that has alcohol in it though, so that will dry your skin out even more, but you kind of have to work what is best for you. But yeah, there are so many products on the market that say that they're really good for your skin and really good at taking the makeup off, and they're quick and easy, but you don't always want the quick and easy ones. You want the ones that are good for your skin and don't tug, and make sure that they don't clog your pores, as well as having products afterwards like toners, etc. I think as well, when it comes to the masks, makeup under a mask can make your spots worse because your skin can't breathe even more. So although makeup isn't necessarily bad for your skin if you use it properly and remove it properly, it is stopping the air getting to your pores for a certain amount of time that you've worn it during the day. So then having a mask on top is completely blocking all of your pores. The texture of the mask is rubbing against your face and disrupting the makeup around your chin area and your mouth, cheeks, that sort of thing. So if you can not wear makeup when you're wearing a mask, feel free, or wear tinted moisturiser instead of foundation, that sort of thing, just a little bit lighter, yeah. If you're worried about what your skin looks when you take it off.
I'm not as clued up in terms of makeup. I haven't used much makeup before, but what I would recommend is, as Sally said, use a very gentle makeup remover if you're going to be using wipes. Try not to use any wipes with irritating ingredients. Try to use
Perfume,
quite moist wipes as well. Don't use ones with any perfume in. Check the ingredients on the pack. Do not rub too hard when you're using your wipes. You could use the most gentle wipes ever, but if you're rubbing like a madman, you're going to irritate your skin. What I would actually recommend, as opposed to wipes, is get yourself some cotton pads and use a cleanser on the cotton pad, but use a gentle cleanser. The cotton will be very, very soft on your skin, and with the cleanser you know that you've got a decent product that won't irritate your skin, so that will also be an option for you if you've got really sensitive skin. Also, on this point as well, just make sure that you clean your makeup sponges and pads, etc. Try to do it at least 3 times a week if you can, and do not use don't use a shampoo to clean your makeup pads or sponges. Use a gentle cleanser. Again, use the cleanser you're going to use for your face, because unfortunately you're not going to wash off all of that cleanser when you are cleaning, so there will be residue there. In terms of masks, what I would suggest firstly is use 100% cotton mask. I would not recommend the blue medical mask. I don't know the official name for those. They're very, very rough, so they're probably going to give you acne, and if you've got any other skin condition, they're probably not going to be the best either in terms of eczema, dermatitis, psoriasis, and so on. So I wouldn't recommend those. You should have a little label inside, so you should be able to check for the materials. One material you want to avoid is polyester, which is really irritating to the skin. The more threads on the cotton, the better as well, but that's a little bit more technical. Also, you need to hand wash the mask. I would not recommend putting these masks in the wash. That might come to mind naturally to do that, but the problem with that is the fabric conditioners, the washing liquid is probably a lot more irritating to your skin than what a cleanser would be. It should only take you a couple of minutes. Just do it in the sink with your facial cleanser again, and try to do that daily, as leaving it any longer, you're gonna have skin cells and oil build up in that mask, and bacteria as well. So it's really important to do that. I would try and do that each evening.
Especially when you've just bought it and you've taken it out of a packet. You don't want to be wearing them straight away, which I've known quite a lot of people to do.
Yeah, 100%. And lastly as well, I will cover this in a full video. I think it needs a little bit more detail, but those are the main tips for that question. Okay, so the next one is with regards to someone's actual skincare routine. So they've said, I've just wanted to message you about skincare really. I've had cystic acne since I was 15, and I've done 2 rounds of isotretinoin amongst countless other prescribed pills and creams. I need to call the doctors again this week because it's flared up in the last few weeks, but I was just wondering if you had any suggestions of skincare or anything that could be helpful really. I know your products aren't available yet, but I've been watching your videos, so thought you might be able to help. So then I went back and asked what her routine actually was. So she said, I cleanse with a CeraVe smoothing cleanser, then the Eucerin Calming Toner and Body Shop Seaweed Gel Moisturizer morning and night. I double cleanse at night with Eucerin Micellar Water as well, and at the moment I've been using Acne Side Gel at night on my really bad areas. But I don't really like using it because it's so harsh and it dries my pillows, towels, so I only use that when it's really bad. Aside from that, I take vitamins every morning, drink 4.5 litres of water a day, and try to stay away from as much dairy as possible. So firstly, great work in terms of taking your vitamins, drinking lots of water, and staying away from dairy. They are really good practices to follow. Dairy does tend to have quite a lot of hormones that are carried from the cows themselves, so it can impact people's acne, and also water tends to be very good at removing the toxins from the body, so very much suggest that, as well as vitamins such as vitamin E, vitamin D, and so on. What I will say firstly is Accutane or isotretinoin doesn't always clear you up completely, and you will still need to avoid certain things to keep your skin clear. Unfortunately, nothing is a miracle in terms of acne cures. Otherwise you will still break out, unfortunately, and a lot of the time with acne it's less about doing more things and use more products. Sometimes it's about using less products and doing less irritating and unnecessary things. What I will say about her routine overall is that she's probably irritating her skin too much. You don't need to double cleanse, and you certainly don't need to do it with another cleanser as well. I know acids, as we've already said, are really popular now, but sometimes you just need to keep your skin in balance. In her products, we're talking salicylic acid, hyaluronic acid, lactic acid, alcohol, perfume, and then benzoyl peroxide. The most important thing I can teach really is look at the ingredients, not the brand. The packaging and so on is irrelevant. The ingredients are all that really matters. Your skin doesn't really care if a product is expensive or not. I would also recommend for her that she should just probably avoid cleansing for the minute. Just bring your skin back into a natural balance. Unless you're taking off makeup, it's probably not necessary to cleanse anyway. If you are going to do it, I would suggest again the Cetaphil Gentle Foaming Cleanser once at night. I also recommended to her that she uses 5 drops of jojoba oil in the moisturizer at night. And just to cut out all these damaging products, she doesn't need the alcohol toner, she doesn't need these cleansers with salicylic acid, lactic acid, hyaluronic acid, and so on. You just need to probably bring your skin back in balance, and you'll probably have success with that alone, particularly because you've already had 2 rounds of isotretinoin, so you shouldn't really be having these problems. I would also recommend to her that she uses a form of treatment for the spots when your skin does come back into balance, so probably follow this for a couple of weeks. You can do that by just making a gel. You can do this with your aloe vera, and then you just want to mix that with tea tree oil. What you want is a composition of roughly 5% tea tree oil and 95% aloe vera, and that should do its work in terms of clearing up the skin. Right, next question. This one's a little bit more of a technical one, so I'll have to go in a little bit more detail. So they've said, would people with non-acne or breakout prone skin benefit from avoiding products with the chemicals you've mentioned in other videos? Apologies, I can't remember the names of the chemicals. Sodium something was one. So I think he's talking in terms of sodium lauryl sulfate and sodium laureth sulfate. So I'll talk through those as well. So yes, there are plenty of chemicals I would suggest avoiding, even if you don't have acne prone skin, as it doesn't just come down to this may clog your pores and so on. That's just one element. We're talking about ingredients that are incredibly irritating to the skin, ingredients that can mess up your chemical imbalance, ingredients that will mess up your hormones, or can even be cancerous. So I would 100% look out for some ingredients. So first ones I would mention, and I will try and mention the most common ones to avoid. The first one is alcohol. What you'll usually see on products is denatured alcohol, so it will say alcohol denat. 100% avoid that. It's really drying and irritating to the skin. You probably wouldn't put vodka in your skin, so I would not suggest using any products with alcohol.
It tends to give it a nasty smell as well sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just unnecessary. Next one is perfume. I would avoid using any products with perfume or fragrances within them. Luckily for a lot of companies, you don't actually have to mention the type of perfume, the type of fragrance, and some ingredients are listed as a fragrance when they could be products like Pilates, for example, which I'll go into in a second. So try to use non-fragrance products. They're just unnecessary. You can do this with essential oils, and you can do this with natural ingredients. You don't need to use synthetic fragrances. They're just a lot cheaper for companies to use.
You can be fooled quite easy as well, because quite a lot of companies thrive off the fragrance, don't they, and make out that they're natural, but it will be fake versions of that. Yeah,
sodium laureth sulfate and sodium lauryl sulfate, again, I said this in a previous video, avoid those. Anything that foams, I'd say there's a 90% chance that it's got one of these ingredients in them, because they are so cheap and readily available, but they are too drying for the skin and irritating. This doesn't just apply to acne prone skin, eczema, normal skin, combination skin. They're just unnecessary. Avoid those. Aluminium is another one that's common. You'll sometimes see this in sun creams as well. It does have estrogen-like effects on the body. Now, men tend to be more worried about estrogen than women do, because they don't want to have women-like effects on their body, but for women as well, causing a hormonal imbalance is not always the best thing. DEA, MEA and TEA, just avoid those. I could go in forever about avoiding those, but I won't overcomplicate it. But if you see those, avoid them. Urea is another one. Tends to be used as a preservative, but it can release formaldehyde, which can cause joint pain, headaches, etc. There's a number of issues. Please avoid that one. Mineral oil is really common in moisturizers. I think the technical term on the ingredients list is something like paraffinum liquidum, but avoid that because it forms like a plastic-like coating on the skin, and
it's like a film.
Exactly. And you can probably use your own common sense to come to the same conclusion that by putting a film across your face, you're clogging your pores and you're not allowing your skin to remove any toxins. So it's a really bad one, and avoid that one.
It's kind of like that in hair products as well, where it seems lovely at the beginning because it makes everything feel so soft and moisturised, but then as soon as you start using it a few times, you'll find that it keeps clogging up and becoming more of a nasty texture.
Yeah. Parabens is the next one. Parabens is another preservative, and again, it's really popular. I would look out for this. There is pretty much any word that ends in paraben, so avoid those. Again, they can mimic estrogen in the body. I will do a full video on parabens. Right, last question, which is composed of 3 questions actually. So the first one is, what are some of the biggest skincare myths you've come across? The second one is, what products should everyone have in their skincare and hair care routine? And lastly, should you have different products for the day and for the night? So I'll just talk through some of the skincare things for me firstly. So I think that one of the first myths is you need to constantly peel your skin, and it's very common now to see lots of acid peels and so on. I think The Ordinary has made that incredibly popular, to have glycolic acid peels, lactic acid peels and so on. I think they certainly have their place, but it's important that you do not use those every day. A maximum of probably 3 times a week is recommended really for those products, and if you are using those acids, as I've said in a previous question, just use that acid. I think secondly, it's very common with a lot of skin conditions that we're expected to do too much. So if you have eczema, you're expected to use heavy ointments like petroleum, and for acne, you're expected to completely dry out your skin. But on both sides, they need to be treated with the same kind of perspective. So if you have acne and you're over here, you need to just bring your skin back in balance. And if you have eczema, you need to bring your skin here. If you have acne and you're trying to make your skin dry, and if you have eczema and you're trying to make your skin oily, you're not going to achieve very much. It's probably going to give you more problems. I think thirdly, people think that blackheads need to be treated massively differently to inflammatory acne. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think the steps that you can take to treat acne should very much be the same as treating blackheads. The one difference, of course, is that inflammatory acne is raised and blackheads are pitted, and they're both blocked pores, but the inflammation comes largely from the bacteria in inflammatory acne. And I would not suggest using charcoal, masks and scrubs and pore strips. They're all highly irritating products to use and are completely unnecessary. I think fourthly, and I think you'll agree with this, Sally, is you need a toner. I'm not sure exactly where this came from. I guess the theory is that if you use a toner, you are making your skin slightly more acidic, and in doing that you can reduce the level of bad bacteria on the skin, and our skin naturally does sit at a slightly acidic level. I think the toners, however, do make pH level more acidic than our actual skin naturally would be. Also, our skin does do a very good job of staying in balance, so I think if you are essentially trying to decrease the pH of your skin, it's going to put your skin out of balance. The skin very much does it itself.
Yeah, taking all the natural oils away.
Yes, yeah. Also, I would say another myth is a lot of the claims that companies make. A lot of brands will claim things like dermatologist tested or recommended. These dermatologists can quite easily be paid to recommend a certain product, the same as a dentist can be paid to recommend a certain toothpaste. But ultimately, it's a fairly meaningless recommendation. These are unregulated terms.
You also want to steer away from products as well that aren't cruelty free, because then they'll be tested on animals and they'll be using a lot more riskier ingredients that obviously don't need to then be tested on human beings, so they can pass certain regulations.
Yeah, I think in terms of products that use claims like vegan, or as you said, animal friendly and so on, they tend to be a little bit more genuine in their claims. So I would look out for those. So the next sub question is, what products should everyone have in their skincare and hair care routine? Do you want to talk in terms of hair care, what you would recommend?
Yeah, so I've always said heat protectant is probably the most important product that you could use or have, especially if you're on a budget and you don't want to spend that much money. I would always invest in that. In the same sense with like skincare, you would go for SPF or a really good moisturiser, just because it is the be all and end all of a product. So you don't want to be using any heated tools without using heat protectant, because your hair will get frazzled and dry. Just like your skin, if you go out in the sun and you don't put SPF on, your skin again will be dry. I wouldn't worry too much about using too many products at once, just like skincare, because you don't want to overcomplicate things, but you will see a lot better results if you use those types of products.
I think for men's hair, what I would recommend is you use, it depends very much on the hairstyle you're going for. For me, I go for kind of a dry textured look. I would recommend using a salt spray before drying your hair. Following that, use quite a dry and matte wax, and then once you've applied that wax, use a dry shampoo, because the rice starch in it absorbs the excess oil and it just really dries out, texturizes the hair. It does give a really good look in terms of the texture throughout. I think for skincare, the products that I would recommend are quite simple, as Sally said. I think it needs to be quite basic. I think firstly you need a really good non-comedogenic moisturizer. I think that is the most important product in your arsenal, regardless of the skin type that you have. I think good quality light non-comedogenic makeup is very important as well for those of you who do apply makeup. Do you agree?
Yeah, especially now we're wearing masks, like we said previously.
I think also a natural treatment, as I recommended to one of the questions earlier. Now, I will obviously be offering this as a product once it releases in May, but I think in the meantime, I tend to use aloe vera and tea tree oil together, as I've said, and that tends to treat all my spots prior to putting on a moisturiser, so I'd recommend that as well. So the last question was, should you have different products for day and night skincare? Yes, I would say you do, but probably not for the reason you would imagine. So there is not a huge amount of difference in the products you should be using morning and night. However, you can get away with using certain products in the night that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get away with in the morning. You can use richer moisturisers as opposed to the ones you use in the morning, because you don't have to worry about having oilier skin. It's not quite as fundamental. So I also use jojoba oil in the night in my moisturiser as well, because again, I don't have to worry about the oiliness as much, but it will massively benefit you overnight. Also, I would only recommend using a cleanser at night. I would not recommend using it in the morning, as again, it will cause your skin to become more oily and it won't give the best appearance overall for your skin, regardless of if your skin is clear or not.
Also as well, if you're cleansing your skin morning and night and doing it in the morning and drying your skin out and then putting a light moisturiser on to then apply makeup, you're already starting off the day of your skin looking dry. So no matter what product you use for your makeup, it's just not going to sit nicely.
Yeah. And obviously if you are applying makeup, there's not much purpose applying it before. So thank you guys for watching. I hope it's been useful to you.
Again.
So thank you guys for watching. I hope it was useful for you and you enjoyed it. I hope Sally enjoyed it as well, and I think Sally gave some really good insight in this video. I'd also like to say that the questions were really good. I was actually really impressed by some of the questions we got. They are all questions I wanted to actually cover in separate videos, so it's good that there's a certain degree of demand and thought behind some of these things. So I will pretty much cover most of these things in more detail in future videos to come. As always, if you enjoyed it, please like the video, follow or subscribe, share it, and check out Sally's page as well, because she's really good at what she does, and there'll be more to come in terms of her Instagram channels and so on, so I will provide the links below for that.
And if you have any questions, feel free to give me a DM.
Bye guys.